The 6 to 7 Figure Show, episode 75. Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona. This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I'm your host, Frank Bria, and today, absolutely thrilled to be joined by Steve Waite, who's the Director of Business Development at Simplii. Am I saying that right and pronouncing that right? I should have.
You were saying that perfectly, Frank.
Asked that first. He's been at Simplii for 7 years, originally from Portland, Oregon, now lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, and at the time of this broadcast, heading into winter, which is a beautiful time there at the snow in the mountains.
Well, I got the jacket on.
Yeah. He's married, he's got 4 children, and we'll be talking about Simplii and what it does. But Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Frank. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely thrilled. So first, let's talk about that. So what's the company? What do you guys do?
So Simplii, we are a hosted voice over IP phone service provider with offices here in Salt Lake City and in Boise, Idaho. Hosted phone service with a real slick integration into most major CRMs, and we'll discuss some of that. But
yeah. So for those people who are getting tripped up on the tech buzz here, yes. Voice over IP is kind of like we kind of use this technology a lot in phone calls now, right? Because people are kind of doing voice over web. But this, are you guys focused on business owners and setting this up essentially as a business integration tool? Yeah,
specifically for businesses. We don't touch residential phone service at all.
Okay. So out of curiosity, a lot of business owners today are kind of using their cell phone. Why is this an improvement over sort of just kind of putting your cell phone out there as a phone number?
Yeah, yep. This is a great question. I get it all the time. I work with a lot of business owners that do use their cell phone, and that's fine. We try to take it to the next level. So when I'm talking to a business owner, I try to convey the message that it's all about appearance, right? When customers are calling you and you're answering on your cell phone, or they get your voicemail, most of the time they can kind of tell that that's your cell phone they're calling. Yeah. So what we try to explain to business owners is we can create a really professional auto attendant, right? Or an IVR, virtual receptionist. They can say, thanks for calling XYZ Corporation. For sales, press 1. For billing, press 2. Yeah. To schedule an appointment, press 3. And it just gives the appearance of a larger company, right? A more professional company. Not saying that they aren't professional. It just gives the appearance of that they're talking to a bigger company.
Yeah.
And so it's all about appearances a lot of times.
Okay. And as a lot of small business owners are trying to scale up and kind of grow, I think a lot of them struggle with this sort of communication of teams. You got multiple people. Is this something you guys solve? Is that a problem you guys solve for a lot of business owners, is how to connect these remote team members? I mean, you're remote, right? I mean, you got offices in Boise and Salt Lake, but right. That seems to be a model that a lot of small business owners are handling these days. How do you connect those remote team members?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about voice over IP is I can have a desk phone here in my office. I can also have that same desk phone at a home office. They both ring as the same extension. So if you call my office phone, my home phone rings at the same time, right? I can also have it hunt out to my cell phone, so I can answer a call at any location.
Yeah.
And then we also have an app where it's tied to your cell phone, where you can dial out from your app as your business line. And so, to tie in remote users, it's just as simple as giving them a desk phone that they plug in at home.
Yeah.
And they operate as if they were sitting in your office.
That's really, I mean, I don't know a lot of people feel the same way I do. Maybe it's just because I'm old, but there's something about like picking up that handset and having it, or like versus a cell phone. I don't know. It's a different. I have a hard time operating out of my office with a cell phone. It's just maybe I'm old, I guess. But no, it's really fascinating that now we're talking about voice over IP in ways that you integrate into the marketing and sales automation and things like that. Because one of the things that really stood out about your company that was kind of fascinating is that you guys are, you talked about it earlier, this integration into CRM. You know, for me, voice over IP solutions have been very tactical. You know, it's like, where's the phone ringing and how does it follow me as I'm traveling around? But talk a little bit about this integration to CRM. What does that mean for businesses? What does it allow them to do that they couldn't do before?
So there's a couple of advantages. I mean, the first advantage is, let me take a step back. When I talk to business owners, I usually ask them, what is the phone experience that your customers get when they call your business, right? If they're calling your cell phone, what's that experience, right? What happens? Do you answer? Does it go to your voicemail? So what we try to do is, especially if they're using a CRM, we have the ability when a customer calls in, it gives a screen pop. So they get a screen pop. It has the customer's name, their phone number, and a link to the CRM in which they're a contact. Okay. So Frank, you call our business. I see your name. I can click on your link and it pops your account inside of, let's say, Salesforce, for example.
Yeah.
Well, then what it does is it'll actually log our phone call. So it logs the call. It attaches the call recording of our phone call. And then if there's any SMS or text communication between us, it logs that inside the contact record as well.
Wow, that's a lot of information that at least I scramble to kind of put in to figure out, when was the last time I talked to the person, and call recordings as well. That's got a lot of data associated with it.
You bet.
What kinds of businesses are you finding this is working really well for? I mean, as people are listening to this, they're thinking kind of, am I big enough? Am I ready for this? What are you seeing from a customer perspective?
I'd say most businesses, I mean, there's a couple of angles in which businesses utilize a CRM. Some use it for just customer management or customer relationship management.
Yeah. They
want to know, when's the last time we had email interaction? Was there contracts sent out? Some of that basic stuff. Mm-hmm. Other business owners use the CRM as a marketing tool, and they use the marketing automation side of the CRM. So it doesn't necessarily matter the size of the company. I have one user business owners that, it's just themselves. They work out of their home, and they just use that to store their interactions with each client. And then I have, multi-location companies that have 300 plus employees, and they use it, as kind of a three-prong approach. They use it to manage clients, they use it to market, and then they use it to, submit orders and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on what the need of the company is, but we can work with anybody.
Got it. Do you get a lot of questions about how to optimize and leverage the technology? I mean, I'm assuming a lot of people first kind of come to you guys with the idea of getting this location independence for messaging, but there seem to be a lot of hooks and a lot of potential power in there that like someone like me, if I were signing up for something, I might not be squeezing all the juice out of the orange, as it were.
You bet. So I always, when I work with clients, I take the consultative type approach. We'll literally sit down with a client. Again, I don't care if it's a plumber, right, or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Same approach. We walk through what's the customer experience when someone calls your business. Does it hit a live voice? Is it ringing to your receptionist? Okay, well then what happens? If they want to speak to Frank, or do they want to speak to the sales department? Is that just a quick transfer? Great. Well, what if they call in? Is it ringing to a virtual receptionist where then they can quickly decide, I want to speak to billing or customer service, and it's all automated.
Yeah.
So we talk about that. We also talk about, how do your phones ring after hours, right? As a business owner, are you 24/7? Or do you put the phone down after 6 o'clock? Okay. And if you do, what happens if there's an emergency, or what happens if there's a sales call? Do you still want to be able to take that call, or do you want to route that maybe to an answering service? We have the ability to route it anywhere you want. And we can also set up some automated SMS replies. So if a client calls you after hours, or if they text you after hours, it'll send an automated text message saying, hey, we're closed. Here's our website, or you can disseminate any information you want on that auto text. So there's a lot of ways to still manage your business, capture some sales and things like that, without necessarily having to be tied to your phone 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We walk through the whole gamut. Yeah, you bet.
The whole thing. Okay. So it is a consultative kind of onboarding approach that you take. I think that's refreshing, because a lot of tech companies don't do that. They sort of like, here's the product, good luck, go to the FAQ, figure out how to install stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've been doing this a long time. I've worked with thousands of business owners, small to large. So I usually have a pretty good idea of how to maybe guide them if they're not sure what they want to accomplish. And then if they do, I always tell business owners, the nice thing about voice over IP is, if you can think it, we can almost make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. And, our motto is, we want to be a whole office solution. We want to be able to, handle a call if you have a receptionist, or if you have a sales team, if you have a marketing department, or do you have an accounting department? We can handle phones for your entire office. Or if you're the business owner with just a mobile phone, let's create an auto attendant, and then no matter what selection they press, it still rings to your cell phone.
Yeah.
But it gives you the appearance of being a bigger company.
Sure. Well, and the appearance piece ties into something that you mentioned earlier that I kind of want to dig into, and that's around customer experience. Because you talked about, like, what's the customer experience? A lot of entrepreneurs today are talking about the sort of boundaries, right, around their communication, their contact. I'm only checking email once a day, or I'm only, they're pushing out these boundaries, which are creating kind of they're doing it for the lifestyle, which I think we understand, but it creates a customer experience that probably has unintended consequences. What are some of the big mistakes you're seeing business owners make in this contact customer experience that people are sort of accidentally creating? Like, what kinds of things should we be avoiding?
I'll give you an example. I'm working with a disaster services company, right? They do disaster cleanup and things like that. Their struggle right now is you call their business after hours, and if it's an emergency, and it could be an insurance agent, or it could be a referral that was sent to them. Someone's house is flooding, and they need immediate service. Well, right now, this company, it rings out to a cell phone, one person's cell phone. Their struggle is, if that person's already on a phone call and it's an emergency, it's hard for them to jump over and try to grab that other phone call.
Sure. So
they're missing a lot of business. So my suggestion when I talk to business owners is, you're right. What's the experience? And what are you trying to accomplish? Are you like this disaster services company where that one phone call you missed, they told me this. They said it could be a $40,000 phone call that they just missed.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's their struggle. And a lot of business owners struggle with kind of what you alluded to. How do you juggle giving them the best customer experience, but maybe not having to always be tied to your phone? there's ways to route calls appropriately so that you don't always have to take the calls. We can send text messages. You can communicate via text if you're indisposed and you can't jump on a phone call. We can have those route to other employees, right? We can have those route to an answering service. We can do a lot of things.
Yeah. In the movement towards all of this sort of internet-based or email communication or instant messaging communication, some people have the idea that, picking up the phone and calling a business is kind of outdated. Are you seeing that? Is that true? Or what are the trends on phone communication these days for business owners?
Yeah, it'll depend on the industry, but for sure we're dealing with a younger generation, we're old school. I'm used to just call me, let's talk it out over the phone. But this generation now, they want to text. So we're starting to see that SMS and texting and MMS, sending pictures and video,
right?
That's how people want to communicate now.
Right.
And so I think business owners have to adapt, because guess what? Your competitor is, right?
Yeah.
And so we give them solutions. We can set up a mobile app that you can text, you can call. However you need to communicate with your potential customers, you need to communicate the way they want to communicate, not the way you want to communicate.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It's interesting. The moment you said pictures, I remember a client of mine a number of years ago. This is one of the big struggles we had is they do HVAC work. So a lot of server room construction for tech companies in the Bay Area. And the challenge was, people will send pictures in, to a tech, and then, you got other people involved in the work order or something else. And someone's like, where's the picture? Like, no one can find it. It's on some guy's phone who's like on vacation, and there was no central repository. And people are having to doing crazy things like forwarding pictures to someone else who could then like download it off their computer. It was a really like messy thing. And, but that's the way people wanted to communicate. They wanted to just take their cell phone out to the equipment, snap a couple of pictures and send it in. And it's amazing that without really thinking that through, that can be a real hassle.
You bet. It's funny, technology now, it's crazy. We have on our service the ability where I can do a screen share. Literally, I can share my computer screen out to your cell phone.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. I've seen it demoed a couple of times with a couple of tech companies, but it's fascinating and it's like underused. I think a lot of people aren't using that very often.
Right. So let's say if I'm a business owner and I'm sending you a quote, and you're like, "Oh, can you email it to me?" Yeah, I already did. Well, I didn't get the email.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, if you have 2 seconds, let me just share my computer. I have the quote right up on my screen right now. I'll send you a link and you can just review it right on your cell phone, and you just share your screen. They can see that right on their cell phone. So again, there's just so many different ways to skin the cat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just depends on the business owner. If a lot of business owners are really open-minded and they're open to, hey, Steve, educate us. Let's find a way that we can better communicate with our client base.
Yeah. I saw some technology demoed in the banking space a couple of years ago where people are using their cell phone to call in to a call center. And then in the call center, they switch it over into screen share mid-call. They're actually swapping over. Hey, just take a look at your phone right now, and I can walk you through stuff. And we don't even think about the potential for that. I'm on a phone call and it's like one channel. It's like one mode of communication. And I'm able to sort of explode that channel of communication into a number of different areas to get visual, to get, hands-on, to get really tactical with people. And if you're in the sales and marketing space and you're talking to potential clients, the possibilities seem endless there.
Yeah. And Frank, I don't want to scare people, right? So, I'll talk technology all day long with business owners. However, there's also business owners that are like, no, hey, whoa, let's just keep it really simple. I just want it to ring, and if I don't pick up, it goes to voicemail.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue. I'll do whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I will try to open your mind to some alternative solutions that might enhance your business, but I'm not going to fight against you if you're dead set on, I want it to ring. If I don't pick up, it goes to voicemail, because we have the ability to take that voicemail and send it out as an email attachment.
Yeah.
So now they don't have to call back into their office to listen to their voicemails. They can just pull up the audio file on their email and listen to it there.
Right.
And then we can also send any text messages can be sent transcribed into their email as well. So there's ways to make it a little bit more efficient for business owners.
Well, that's smart.
If they don't want to get too complicated.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who's going to go through any kind of a tech curve, it's layering on complexity piece by piece rather than kind of eating the elephant all at once. That's a smart way to do that. So that's great. Well, I think the important point is you're handling an onboarding process and a consultative process that's going to be really helpful for people, because I know this is one thing we preach, for our clients is, if you're going to do onboarding and if you've got a product, you want to sort of own the success of the product for people and make sure that they have everything they need to really get the full return on their investment, to really see how it integrates into the business and fundamentally just be successful at it. So it's great you guys have that take.
Right.
Yeah. Steve, we're out of time. Unfortunately, I really appreciate you've given great time taking time out of your busy schedule for this conversation. Really appreciate it. One last question though, as people are listening and they're thinking this is something they want to explore, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you or the company?
Yeah. So, and Frank, maybe you can distribute this, but they can call me direct.
Okay.
I'll give them my phone number. It's 801-449-9810.
Okay.
And then they can email me as well. It's just stevew@simplii.net. And I'm sure we'll distribute that out to people if they need to contact us. And then for anybody that's listening to this that hears about us from the program, we'll give them their first month free so they can try us out. And we have, 24/7 support service. We help onboard. We'll ship phones out. We do it all. So they don't have to feel like they do it themselves.
Wow, that's a generous offer. Thanks so much. Well, the contact information is right below. So if you're watching the video, it's right below the video. If you're on the show notes page, you'll see it embedded in the notes. If you're out and about listening to this broadcast, come on back to the show notes page if you didn't catch that, and you'll get that information. I would be very surprised if Steve didn't give out a phone number, given all the discussion we've had about making sure that you connect.
Yeah, call me, everybody.
Right,
We're a phone company. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
You can email me.
Either way, so that's great. Steve, thanks so much for spending time with us. Really appreciate it.
Wonderful, Frank. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. And thank you all for being with us on this episode of the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I've been your host, Frank Bria, and this has been a fascinating conversation about the leveraging of technology in your sales and marketing process. I really do recommend you take a look at your customer experience when it comes to how your customers perceive you. A lot of times, entrepreneurs, we oversteer to the get out of my face view of the world in order to create boundaries around what we do. And this is just a really good way to think about this from a customer perspective. So highly recommend you check that out. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.